Hello everyone, welcome to Vlearn and welcome back to the class Introduction to the Genetics. I am Ashish Kumar and in today's class we are going to solve about the numerical problems of the genetics. If we talk about the numerical problems in genetics, genetics is one of the most important topic in the biology for the numerical solving. So if you got the numerical solving ability, the genetics part is already done. So basic concept should be clear before you goes to the numerical problem solving class. If you haven't watched the laws of different laws video like principle of inheritance, principle of segregation, pause this video and again watch the principle of inheritances and the other introduction to the genetics video. So in this class basically we are going to talk about to the numerical problems. So let's start today's class. The first question here is, find the type of gametes produced by the plant having genotype capital A small a, capital B small b, capital C, capital D, small d, capital E. So if we consider the total number of gametes, so the total number of gametes is basically calculated by a formula that is 2 to the power n, where this n represents the total number of heterozygote. N represent number of heterozygote. So n is basically the number of heterozygote. If we talk about the number of heterozygote in this condition, if we look at this particular genotype, capital A, small a, capital B, small b, capital C, capital D, small d, capital E, we notice that the total number of heterozygote in this genotype, so simply write the genotype and have a look which of them is basically the heterozygous is present in the heterozygous form. So if we look at this capital A small a, capital B small b and capital D small d, these all the three genes are basically present in the heterozygous form. So if we talk about the value of n in this particular program, the value of n would be equal to 3. So the value of n is 3. Simply put this value in the formula. So simply put the value of n is equal to 3. So the total number of zygote would be 2 to the power 3. That means the total number of gametes which will be produced by this particular genotype would be equal to 2 to the power 3. That means total number of different type of gametes produced will be 8 gametes. So it will basically produce 8 gametes. Similarly, you can calculate the total number of different gametes for any particular genotype. Let us say you have a different plant with different genotype, capital A, capital B, capital C, capital D, small d, capital E. So this is the genotype of the plant. And you have to calculate the total number of gametes. So simply calculate the total number of heterozygotes, So heterozygote is n is equals to 1. So n is equals to 1 in this particular case because rest of them are present in homozygous form. So if we look at the other forms are present in heterozygous except this one, that is capital D, small d1. So the value of n in this would be 1. So for this particular genotype, the value of n is equal to 1. So the total number of gametes produced will be equals to 2. So 2 gametes will be produced, 2 gametes. So simply we can calculate the total number of gametes by the formula 2 to the power n. Let's go to a more complex problem. Consider this genotype There are two types of plant, capital A, small a, capital B, capital C, capital D, and the other plant is capital A, small a, capital B, capital C, capital D, small d. Let us say we have cross-pollinated, we have crossed these plants. Upon cross-pollination, there will be different number of zygotes produced. In this particular question, you have to calculate the number of zygotes produced in the progeny. So you have to basically calculate the total number of different type of zygote produced in this progeny. So if we talk about this question, if you can solve this question, please pause the video and try to solve this question by yourself. So pause the video for 60 seconds and then cross check with the answer. So if we talk about this particular thing, so the total number of zygote can be basically calculated by total number of zygote. Total number of zygote is basically calculated by gamete square. But this formula cannot be useful here, because if we talk about the total number of gametes in this particular genotype, the total number of gametes would be capital A, small a, capital B, capital C, capital D. So total number of gametes n is equals to 1, because the n is equals to what? The number of heterozygotes formed. So the number of heterozygote formed in this particular situation is 1. So the total number of gametes in this particular, for this particular plant would be 2 to the power 1, that is equal to 2. So if we simply take the number of gametes from this particular plant, you will get 2 square. And the total number of zygote would be 4. That's simply wrong. So this is not the case. So you cannot solve by simply gamete square. So if we talk about this particular genotype, the number of gametes in this particular case will be the value of n would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So n is equal to 4. So if we talk about 2 to the power 4, 2 to the power 4 means 16. The basic problem comes when the total number of zygote, the student basically multiplies either 2 into 2 or simply by 16 multiplied by 16. In both the cases, the answer would be wrong. In this particular case, when the genotype of both the plant is different, you have to basically multiply the gamete 1, number of gametes in first plant, into number of gametes in the second plant. So in this particular case, the total number of zygote will be the number of gametes produced by the first plant and the number of the gametes produced by the second plant. So the total number of gametes would be 2 into 16. So 2 into 16 would be the total number of gametes. That means 32 would be the total number of gametes in this particular scenario. Next question. This is also very important question, and this is quite hard question. Let's have a read at the question. Let's have a look at the question. The question is, the F2 dihybrid phenotypic ratio, where the gene at one loci shows the incomplete dominance and at the other loci shows normal dominant recessive relationship. What is this? You have to calculate the F2 dihybrid phenotypic ratio, where gene at one loci, at one particular loci, let us say this is the chromosome, and at this particular loci, gene shows the incomplete dominance. Alright, incomplete dominance. So this particular loci gene shows, one loci shows incomplete dominance. Please read the question carefully before you proceed to solve the answer. The other is the other gene loci, that means there is an other gene on the chromosome which shows the normal dominant recessive relationship. So the normal dominant recessive relation. All right. So the basic question is this incomplete dominance and this particular gene shows the normal dominant recessive relationship. All right. So if we talk about this question, there is two different scenarios. The site, the allele at this particular location shows the incomplete dominance, and this particular location shows the normal dominant recessive relationship. So this question is quite confusing, but this question can be easily solved by product rule. So here we use the product rule, and product rule says the number of gametes which are basically produced by this and this will be the multiplication product of both of these. So if we produce the incomplete dominance at one loci, the phenotypic ratio of incomplete dominance. So if we remember, the phenotypic ratio of incomplete dominance is 1:2:1, whereas the normal dominant recessive relationship phenotypic ratio is 3:1. So if you haven't watched the video for incomplete dominance and the normal phenotypic normal dominance recessive relationship, please go back and watch the video. So we are using the product rule. So for this particular problem, the number of the F2 dihybrid phenotypic ratio, the F2 dihybrid phenotypic ratio would be 1:2:1 into 3:1. So if we multiply this, we will get 3:6:3:1:2:1. So in this particular question, we will be getting the 3:6:3:1:2:1. So this would be the answer. Thanks for watching the video. I hoped you loved the video. If you still have the doubts in these questions, please mention in the comment section. These are very important problems. These are very important numerical problems for genetics. Please go back and solve these questions by your own. So these are very important questions for the genetics. Hope you loved and enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching the video, and see you in the next video.